Top 10 ancient gemstones born from extinct coral reefs. Before diamonds were cut or rubies crowned kings, the ocean was already crafting treasure, deep beneath the surface, in the silence of ancient reefs. These coral cities were older than rainforests, older than bone, pulsing with life long before history began. And when extinction came, they didn't vanish. They fossilized, they transformed. Over millions of years, the skeletons of coral became stone, etched with memory, locked in mineral, and hardened into something far more valuable than sparkle. These aren't just gemstones, they're time capsules. 10 relics from lost oceans, each one formed in the death of a reef and reborn as a gem. Don't forget to press and hold that like button, leave a comment, and hit subscribe before we begin. Ranked 10th, Crinoid fossil marble, the sea's lost flowers trapped in stone. At first glance, it looks like ordinary marble, but this is not the kind of stone used for countertops or columns. The patterns you see, floral rings, starbursts, spirals, aren't decorations. They're fossils, not of plants, but animals. Creatures that once anchored themselves to ancient ocean floors over 400 million years ago. These were crinoids, also known as sea lilies. Though they resemble flowers, they were in fact animals, distant relatives of starfish and sea urchins, waving their feathery arms through the water to capture drifting plankton, swaying with the ocean like it was breathing. These creatures died silently when sea levels fell and ancient reefs collapsed. Their soft tissues vanished, but their rigid stems and arms remained, frozen in time, buried beneath layers of limestone and sediment. Over millions of years, pressure and minerals replaced their organic structure with stone, preserving their shapes like nature's etchings. Today, these fossils are found within a rare and stunning type of stone, crinoid fossil marble. It isn't used for jewelry, but for something more permanent. High-end interiors, polished tabletops, million-dollar walls. Each slab is a biological map, a silent gallery of extinct sea life. No two are the same, and none can ever be recreated. Every piece is a whisper from a long-dead ocean, a fragment of prehistoric life captured forever in stone. Ranked 9th. Algal Agate, the ocean's forgotten lace. Algae existed before bones, shells, and even coral. They were silent architects of the earliest reefs, weaving threads of life long before vertebrates emerged. Their structures were fragile and soft, and destined to vanish. Yet in rare moments, deep within prehistoric shallows, something extraordinary occurred. Silica seeped into ancient seabeds, surrounding clusters of algal colonies. Over time, these primitive life forms were replaced molecule by molecule. What remained was not just stone, but memory in mineral form, algal agate. At a glance, it resembles traditional agate, with translucent layers and cloudy inclusions. But the patterns reveal something more organic under magnification. Filaments, veins, branching threads, like a frozen underwater lace. This gemstone does not shout for attention. Its colors are often subdued, milky whites, mossy greens, and occasional flashes of amber. But what it lacks in brilliance, it compensates for in mystery. Each fragment is a remnant of biology long erased from modern oceans, a species without a name, encased in chalcedony. Algal agate isn't found in jewelry stores or auction houses. It appears in university drawers, dusty museum cases, and the hands of fossil collectors who know how to look beyond sparkle. Its value isn't measured in carats but in context. A stone that doesn't just reflect light, but reflects time before time. Ranked 8th, Lithophyllum Jasper, fire preserved in reef stone. The ocean once burned, not with flame, but with color in shallow waters teeming with volcanic minerals. Red algae known as lithophyllum anchored themselves to reef rock, spreading layer upon layer like coral's quieter cousin. These algae didn't shimmer or dazzle, but they built the reef's skeleton, quietly cementing life together. When tectonic shifts tore those seascapes apart, their work didn't vanish. Buried in calcium and then overrun by iron-rich groundwater, Lithophyllum's crimson traces seeped into stone. Over millennia, they hardened, not as coral or shell, but as jasper. And not just any jasper, but a variant marbled with streaks of rust, clay red ochre, and fossil shadows. Unlike gemstones that beg for clarity, this one thrives in texture. Its value lies not in transparency, but depth, the kind that hints at sediment, oxidation, and silent biological battles long past. Polished, it reveals chaotic patterns layered like tidal memory. Unpolished, it still feels alive, like a reef gasping beneath volcanic ash. To hold Lithophyllum Jasper is to have a contradiction. Fire embedded in the reef, fragility fossilized into permanence. Among collectors, it's sought not for perfection, but for personality. Each piece has a different pulse and wound in the reef, sealed shut by time. Ranked 7th, Rugose coral fossil, horns of a sunken age. In the Paleozoic seas, before trees towered and insects flew, life clung to the floor of shallow oceans. The solitary architects of the ancient reef, Rugose corals, stood among trilobites and shelled beasts. Each one grew alone, not in colonies. They formed cone-like structures, narrowing to a point like natural trumpets embedded in limestone. These horn-shaped bodies gave rise to their name, horn coral. But what they built was not sound, it was shelter. Their ridged interiors housed the soft, pulsing polyps of a vanished lineage. Over time, sediments buried them, pressing them into permanence. What remains is a fossil unlike any other. While most corals bloom outward, Rugose coral seems to fold inward, like a clenched fist of the ocean, curled in survival, hardened in extinction. Cross-sections reveal internal symmetry, lines, folds, and radial ribs, precise as the rings of a cathedral dome carved by nature alone. They are not cut for jewelry or framed as decor, yet their appeal is unmistakable in the fossil trade. Scientists study them to decode ancient climates. Collectors prize the complexity of their designs. Children hold them to the light, imagining dragons, tusks, or alien bones. In truth, they are relics of silence, monuments to a species that stood alone on the seafloor, enduring, adapting, and then disappearing. What they left behind feels less like a fossil and more like a message, not spoken, not written, but etched in stone. Ranked 6th, Halysites coral fossil, chains beneath the sea. Before bones and spines defined dominance, the structure came in simpler forms. Halysites, named from the Greek for chain, built their bodies not as towers, but as links. Each chamber is a cell. Each row is a colony. And together, a latticework reef, unlike anything the modern ocean remembers. Their shape was their strength. Oval tubes stacked in rows fused into flexible chains rippled along the seabed. They lived as a network, breathing as one, anchored in sediment where few others could survive. They had no jaws or eyes, only the filter-feeding rhythm and the tide's pulse. Today, their fossils are unmistakable. They are slabs of limestone embedded with loops, like bracelets frozen in mud, like vertebrae without a spine. Under the microscope, detail emerges. Concentric lines, tight grain, perfect repetition. But viewed from a distance, they look like an unfinished script written in stone. Geologists prize them for what they reveal about Ordovician waters. Collectors seek them for their symmetry, fossils that mimic design without intention. Each segment once housed a tiny life. Now, all that remains is the corridor it left behind. They do not glitter or gleam, but in their precision and endless repetition, they echo something older than an ornament. A memory of a sea where the connection was survival, and the strongest forms were the ones that learned to link together. Ranked 5th, Coquina Gemstone, the shoreline that solidified. Every coastline tells a story. Tides carve some, others by time, and a few by life itself. Coquina belongs to the last, formed not in fire nor crystal, but from billions of broken shells, compressed, cemented, and hardened into stone. It begins in the intertidal zone, where waves deposit the remains of clams, mollusks, and coral fragments. Over centuries, layer upon layer of biological debris piles up. Salt water seeps between gaps. Minerals settle. Pressure builds. Slowly, the shoreline becomes rock. Most coquina is coarse, chalky, and brittle, used historically for construction, not adornment. But in rare geological pockets, something different occurs. The fragments fuse more cleanly. The spaces between them vanish. A dense mosaic-like mass emerges, subtle in color, rich in texture, and polishable to a warm, grainy sheen. Under the light, the stone reveals its origins: spirals of gastropods, half-formed coral, and broken ridges of bivalves. It is a graveyard of ancient sea life, fossilized in a single exhale. No two surfaces are alike. Some resemble ivory sandstorms, others frozen surf. Though rarely found in high-end jewelry, the Coquina Gemstone carries a different kind of worth. It is a monument not to singular beauty, but to accumulation, to patience, and to how even broken things, when gathered long enough in one place, can harden into something enduring. Ranked fourth, gem silica, liquid color trapped in stone. Some gemstones shine because of clarity, others because of fire. Gem silica is different. Its beauty lies in depth, a glow that seems to rise from within, like light diffused through tropical water. The most vivid specimens shimmer in blues and greens, so saturated that they appear still wet. Gem silica is a rare chalcedony form infused with copper minerals, most often chrysocolla, but its birth is not volcanic or cosmic. It is biological, geological, and patient. Copper-rich fluids flow into empty cavities left behind by ancient life in zones once occupied by coral reefs, now uplifted, broken, and mineralized. Over time, those voids fill with silica gel. Slowly, silently, that gel hardens. The result? A gemstone that holds both the structure of the earth and the memory of a vanished ocean. Under magnification, its surface reveals microcrystals arranged in a fibrous, watery texture. Under sunlight, it appears to breathe. Gem silica doesn't come in predictable veins. It's found in isolated pockets, hidden within copper mines, embedded in fossilized reef zones of Peru, Arizona, or the Congo. Mining requires more luck than skill, and when a pocket runs dry, there's no guarantee it will ever reappear. Collectors call it the king of chalcedonies. Jewelers save it for statement pieces. But even stripped of context, one truth remains. Gem silica is color in its purest, most natural form. Not painted, not processed, but born deep within the Earth's crust, in places where life once bloomed and vanished. Ranked third, Petoskey Stone, memory fossilized in pattern. Long before the Great Lakes were lakes, before glaciers carved the valleys and forests grew along the shores, a shallow tropical sea stretched over what is now northern Michigan. In that sea, a creature thrived, hexagonal, patterned, colonial. It lived not alone, but as part of a living mosaic. That creature was Hexagonaria percarinata, a coral species now extinct, its fossilized form known as the Petoskey Stone. Each stone carries a fractal memory, clusters of perfect geometric cells, like sunflowers frozen in stone. The hexagons are not decoration. They were once the skeletal walls of coral polyps, each chamber once home to a mouth, a stinger, a tiny pulse of life. When the reef died, it did not disappear. It hardened. It became part of the rock that would someday rise above sea level and dry under the sky. Centuries passed. Then came the ice. Glaciers scraped those ancient seabeds and scattered fragments of the reef across what would become America's Midwest. The stones settled into beaches, fields, and riverbeds as the ice melted. One day, a traveler picked up a rounded rock by the lake and found a galaxy of fossils hiding beneath. Polished Petoskey stone gleams with soft gray and honey tones. Its patterns glow like the eye of a storm, organic, precise, unmistakable. It is now the official stone of Michigan. Children collect it, artists carve it, scientists study it, and in every piece something is impossible to recreate. A reef-turned relic scattered by glaciers, rediscovered by hand. Ranked second, red fossil coral, blood of the reef, sealed in stone. In the heart of Southeast Asia, among ancient limestone hills and weathered cliffs, lies a gem that carries the geometry of coral and the intensity of the flame. Red fossil coral, a relic of long-buried tropical seas, owes its fire not to heat but to time. What begins as living coral, delicate, white, alive, becomes, over millions of years, a fossil of iron and silica. The transformation is slow and precise. Mineral by mineral, the skeleton of the coral is replaced. But in certain conditions, rare, volatile, and rich in iron, the result is not pale or gray, but red. Deep, visceral red. Like a wound preserved. Skilled artisans in Indonesia and Thailand cut, shape, and polish these fossils. Patterns emerge, hexagonal chambers, honeycomb networks, and sometimes entire reef colonies locked into stone. Every curve reveals structure, and every shade reveals chemistry, from soft crimson to near black garnet, depending on the mineral bath in which it fossilized. Few materials carry such duality in the gem trade, the precision of biological form with the fire of mineral color. Red fossil coral straddles the line between life and death, organic and inorganic. It is not transparent, it does not sparkle, but commands attention. No quarry can promise more. No reef today will ever produce it again. Every piece is a fossil, a fragment of vanished ocean life, charged with geological voltage. Not just a gemstone, but an ember pulled from the ashes of the sea. In the first place, agatized fossil coral, time perfected in pattern. There are fossils that record the shape of life, and those that record its architecture, its blueprint. None are more exquisite than agatized fossil coral. This stone began its story beneath ancient seas when coral colonies pulsed and breathed across tropical shelves. Each tiny polyp built a chamber, which connected to thousands more. A reef was not a structure, it was a city, alive, expanding, evolving. Then came extinction. The entire species vanished, the reefs died. But something extraordinary happened. The dead coral did not crumble. It became a vessel. Over millions of years, silica-rich groundwater flowed through the empty skeletons, filling every cell. Atom by atom, the coral's structure was replaced by chalcedony, but the pattern remained, preserved, perfected, etched in stone so precise that, even today, the symmetry rivals computer models. From the outside, it appears like ordinary agate. But under light, a galaxy of geometric forms bursts open, stars, webs, honeycombs, and mandalas. Each is a natural fossil, not carved, drawn, or grown. Some glow with soft creams and grays. Others ignite with orange, fire red, and storm black. The finest specimens are auctioned beside diamonds. The rarest are held in private collections, guarded not for their sparkle, but for their silence. No two are alike. No reef will ever produce them again. They are the last remnants of worlds erased, and yet more intact than anything alive today. Agatized fossil coral is not simply beautiful. It is order resurrected. It is biology immortalized. It is the ocean's final word, spoken in stone. The reef is gone. The creatures that built it vanished. But in stone they speak, not in voice but in pattern, in color, in symmetry. It is too precise to be chance. Each gemstone in this list is more than a relic. It's a survivor, a message. It was when biology and geology collided, and something permanent was born. These are not just treasures of the earth. They are fossils of memory, shaped by time, preserved by pressure, and revealed only to those who know where to look. The ocean may forget, the world may change, but stone remembers. Let us know which resonates with you in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.